changer, history maker.
Welcome to the podcast, Refined and Unfiltered. I'm your host, Ashley, and today we're going to be talking about a few lessons that I've learned being a business owner. Episode 1 was about really my journey and why the podcast and the vision for this, and shared a little bit about my personal story and how my business came about as an advisor, and how that piggybacked off of an Ironman that I had done. So today I want to share some of the biggest lessons that I've learned. I think there are tons more that I could share, but thinking back on three lessons that have really impacted me and my business so far. So not the polished version, but just things that I've learned by failing, adjusting, pivoting, things that are refining me every single day. I might have to go back and figure out how many times I'm going to use the word refine. I think it's going to be a lot. So lesson 1 is that hard work is just the minimum standard. I think that a lot of people see the good and the maybe the freedom that people have being a business owner. And I think that effort and long hours being a business owner are expected. They're the baseline. And not even just in being a business owner, but just in anything that you do. I think that hard work is the minimum standard, and how you reach the next level or the next tier is by doing everything else. And one of the main things is by staying teachable. And I talked about this in the last episode. I think in the beginning of my journey personally, starting out, I've always wanted to outwork everybody in the room. Kind of makes me think of Kobe Bryant and just like the Mamba mentality of he was always like the hardest worker in the room. Same thing with Michael Jordan. I love sports, so you're probably going to hear a lot of references to athletes and things like that. But I think sometimes we think that effort alone will carry us, and we realize once we get a little bit more refined that we need mentors and we need wisdom and we need new skills, and we constantly have to be sharpening those skills. And I'm a firm believer in iron sharpens iron. And I think that finding people that are better at things that you're doing and you want to be to their level is important. Again, tying that back to just being a sponge, soaking up lessons from mentors, peers, and even clients, and learning from those experiences. I think one thing, especially in my business, I think I've said this either in the last episode, but there's a lot of different financial advisors, and you have to figure out what separates you. A lot of them work hard, and again, that's just like the minimum standard, but it's what can you do that goes above and beyond what the person down the street's doing. How can you create a better experience for the client, or how can you, with new relationships, how can you stand out, and how can you just take that relationship to the next level. I think that with a lot of things, hard work might get you in the door, but humility and teachability will keep you in the room in a lot of instances. And so that's really what I'm hoping is a key takeaway from really that lesson. So lesson 2 is effective communication is everything. And I honestly think out of the 3 that I'm going to share today, this is probably the most important. I'm not sure why it's lesson number 2. Probably should have been number 1. But I've learned this the hard way several times. And I've also, kind of gotten a pat on the back for the way that I communicate in business and just in other aspects of my life. A mentor said to me once, no one is reading your mind. And so effective communication is important, and miscommunication often creates frustration in a lot of situations for people. And I think that miscommunication, whether that be in your job as a business owner, your marriage, relationships, is sometimes the biggest cause of arguments and kind of just getting off course for a lot of people. So my approach is usually to over-communicate when possible. I think just being clear is better. And sometimes the communication is not something that you want to do because it doesn't feel good. You might have to communicate things that you don't want to, or things that not necessarily will hurt the person, but it's just not something that feels good at the time. But I think one thing that has really helped me grow in this area is, well, number one, just self-reflecting, and just like, if something doesn't go the way that I want it to with a client or, one of my peers or a relationship, like, could I have handled that situation better? And how could I have communicated better? Was it a lack of communication on my part? Should I've done this or should I have done that? But one thing I think that has helped me level up in this area and helped me just be a better communicator is hiring a business coach and going through this business mentoring program that I'm going through right now, and then also getting a mentor and talking through situations like this, and attending some of these peer events through this business coaching thing that I'm in right now. And so one of the things that we learned about early on in this program was something called the DISC profile. And I learned very quickly, and it's common knowledge. I think that all of us have different personalities, and we work differently, right? We tick differently, and there's people receive information in different ways, and there's different ways that we like to receive information. And so share just a little story. So when it comes to the DISC profile, I am a D, which means dominant. And that just means that I like things very direct. I like them fast and to the point. I don't need the extra fluff. I'm a very black and white person, which can be very favorable in my business, but it can also be a hindrance. And I've come across that several times. And I've found out that the problem is that not everybody works the way that I do. And not everybody wants to receive information the way I do. And not everybody wants to communicate the way that I do. So several times in my career, I've had clients who is the exact opposite of me. Instead of wanting me to jump straight to the solution, they need more time to process, ask questions, and to really kind of look at all of the details. And I think one of the hardest things for me is being okay with that. Because part of my job is, and it's more so not that way now, but sales, right? So when we are in any type of sales, which in my opinion, you're always in sales, right? You're selling yourself, you're selling your business, is we want that result right away. And so the old me, before learning about like DISC and personality types, I would have gotten really impatient. Still do sometimes, but I probably would have said, come on, let's just move forward, right? What's stopping you? Or, what questions do you have like right now that I can answer? But because of learning about different personality types and learning how to communicate better with people, made me realize that, those types of clients that aren't like me. They're not slow or indecisive. They just process information differently than me, and that's okay. And so instead of pushing people to keep up with me in that sense, I've really learned to slow down and match their pace and really level with them, give them details that they need to move forward, and then also create space for their questions. So through that, I've just found that the client feels heard, and they feel like they can trust me more, and it helps build that relationship between me and the client. Kind of a interesting story. I was having lunch with a friend yesterday, and the friend is a lot like me, just very direct, very to the point, wants everything quickly. Her husband is not. He's the exact opposite. And he had to bring her something, and while we were having lunch, and he walked away from the table, and I just was like, you guys are the exact opposite. And she's like, I know. I have to give him space to process like what I'm saying. And so it's just experiences like that, just teach you something important, that effective communication isn't about talking right away. So along with, talking is listening. And I think an important aspect of being a great communicator is also being a great listener, meeting people where they're at. And when you can do that, you not only communicate better, but like you connect better, and you're able to foster better relationships. And so I think that the better that you can understand people, the better that you can serve them. So that's probably one of the biggest takeaways from that lesson is just taking the time to listen, and then over communicating when possible, and just trying to learn about people before you jump right in. But lesson 3 is time is the great equalizer. And so one thing that I have, again, learned probably the hard way, is that entrepreneurship, or owning a business, being a business owner, is not freedom from working less, but freedom to work on what you want to work on. A lot of times entrepreneurs are putting in a lot more than just the 9 to 5. They're spending more time on their business, their craft, they're learning new skills. So with that, you always hear people say, I wish there was more time in the day, or I wish we had more than 24 hours in the day. And I think time is the one form of capital that everyone has equally. And sometimes people want to own a business so that they can do what they want and when they want. But again, I've learned that you have to block your time out and really prioritize what is important in that moment and in that day. Because if you're able to run your business effectively, you should have more time than sometimes the 9 to 5 people. But something I've learned is the difference between being busy and being effective. Anybody can be busy, but how you're using that time is and being effective with it is important. Me liking to do different things has forced me to balance and really make time for things that matter in my life. I don't have time for things that aren't important to me. Like I said, I love my family. I love spending time with my family. I want my business to grow, love my clients. I love building relationships. Fitness is important to me, and my faith is important to me. And so really fitting those 4 things into my days, into my weeks, is a balancing act, because they all require, time, and then obviously friends as well, and adding time spent with friends, because I think leading a balanced life also leads to a more fulfilling life. But you definitely can't buy more time, but you can choose how to invest it. Having a business coach has really taught me to, I have to set goals with this person, and if I don't reach the goal the next time we meet, which I meet once a month, then the goal stays on the sheet. And a lot of times when I don't reach the goal, it's because I never made time for it. And I'm somebody that used to use a paper calendar, which is kind of embarrassing now. No offense to people that use paper calendars, but it just got to the point where like I couldn't keep up with it. And so transitioning in my business, actually, when I went independent, my goal was to get rid of a lot of paper things. And so I went to a digital calendar, Google Calendar. And usually what I say is, if it doesn't get put in my calendar, then it's not happening. I've even went as far as putting dates in my calendar. So when I go on a date, like it has to go on my calendar. Otherwise I forget or it's not happening. And sometimes it seems silly, but it just helps me manage my time better and just be a better business owner by prioritizing those things that matter. And I really think that how you steward your time says more about your priorities than anything. And just making sure that you're stewarding that time well, because like I said, everyone gets the same 24 hours in the day. It's just, how do you want to use it and how do you want to spend it? So in closing, the 3 lessons, and I'll probably share more lessons, but starting out, these have been really vital and important in my business and growing and refining myself as a person and as a business owner. But number 1, hard work is the minimum. Humility and learning are what set you apart. Really just kicking the ego at the door and not carrying that with you and not being a know-it-all. But number 2, effective communication builds trust and relationships, and being open to learning about other people's personalities and realizing that not everybody is the same and not everybody communicates the same, and just being a better listener. And then number 3, time is the great equalizer, and how you use it defines your results. Looking forward to the next episode. Hopefully we will have a guest on the next episode. And we'll see you then. That concludes episode 2.
Changer, history maker.